viewers, welcome to Wired Women, another exciting episode with our special guest coming from South Africa. Her name is Tshego Kekana. Tshego, welcome to the show, and could you please introduce yourself to our viewers? Who is Tshego?
Hi Jane, thank you so much for having me on the show today. My name is Tshego Kekana and I am from South Africa. I am a young woman born in the township of Atteridgeville in Pretoria in South Africa. I'm a mom to a 5-year-old little girl, and I'm a woman who's very passionate about building other young people, impacting lives, impacting other women. And I'm also somebody who's passionate about giving back to the communities that we serve. And I'm a businesswoman, all-round businesswoman. That's who I am.
Okay, so Tshego, thank you so much for that introduction. I know you're in the PR industry, and that's what is exciting. And I am so super excited to have you on the show because I know that your passion is about impacting lives, and you use public relations to impact lives, but you also have other personal things that are going on. But I'm particularly interested in learning more and for you to share with our viewers. You recently won a major account with Kellogg's, and now ABSA. What does it take to be such a badass female entrepreneur, not just any place in the world, but in South Africa, where inclusivity and diversity is a thing that is just happening now? I am super proud of you, and I'm sure our viewers would want to hear more about how did this come about.
Oh, thank you so much. So I run an agency called Alfa Communications, which is an integrated marketing and communications business. So we do basically both public relations and marketing in one. And my background is in PR. So I resigned after working 10 years in the PR space. I resigned recently in January, and to focus on my business, of which my business I started in 2016. So I was basically working a full-time job while building a business on the side. And the demand became high, so I resigned, but I was also requested at work to stay up until April. Now the challenge was our lockdown in South Africa started in March, and when COVID started hitting us hard in March, and I then had just resigned. We were fortunate that we pitched to Kellogg's around March. I think it was March. And a month, 2 months later, we won the account. And for us, it was, wow, it was, I actually, when I got the call, I actually cried.
Yeah, I can imagine.
On the phone and there was a point she was like, "Are you still there?" And because I was just, the thing is, we pitch all the time. That's the nature of our business. You pitch for businesses all the time. And we're a small business, right? It's two of us. We're working from my, I live in a two-bedroom apartment, and I decided when I resigned to give away my bed in the guest bedroom and turn the room into an office. Bought like second-hand office furniture, like just desks and chairs. Had to bribe my brother to use his printer and his laptop just so I can start this business. And then with that setup, then you win such a big account with Kellogg's. So for me, it was breathtaking. It was something that I prayed very hard for. I mean, everything that I do, I center around my spirituality and my relationship with God. So it came after a lot of fasting, a lot of prayer, a lot of sacrifice as well, because sacrificing my job, it was a huge sacrifice. And also not understanding if I'm going to make the same amount of money that I used to make. Am I going to make it, because now you're moving away from having a comfortable salary coming in every single month to not having, to not knowing what's going to happen every single month. So it's a hustle. It's a constant hustle. Kellogg's was a huge win for us. It was that sign of hope that beacon of hope during COVID-19, when everybody's being retrenched, businesses are closing down, and we had that beacon of hope. And we continued. We built our business. We went from being a team of just 2 people in our home office, and recently we won ABSA Bank as an account. So we do ABSA's consumer PR. And that is another big win for us during COVID, during lockdown. I can safely say we really kick ass when it comes to our pitch proposal.
I love it. I love it so much. Let me hold you right there. Let's hit pause, because I'm just really loving this and I'm super excited for you. I mean, but the thing that I want to comment on is what comes across. You're my second guest who is doing business based on their faith. So your business is powered by your faith. I think you may have seen the current interview that I had with Joanne Muturi. She's from Kenya. And she talked about she can't do any business without first going to her throne of grace, that is, and to pray and commit everything into God's hands. I love this. I love this about a lot of African people, especially. They do wear their faith on their sleeves, which is kind of like an unorthodox and unheard of, especially here in the Western world, where you've got to be politically correct. You cannot talk about your faith. You cannot talk about your race. You cannot talk about this and that, because it's just unheard of. So this is why I'm really, really intrigued to hear this, because, it's challenging the status quo, literally. And that's what Wired Women is about. How do you then balance? My question to you would be, how do you balance and not blur how are the lines not blurred between your faith and your business? But also, how do you then, if you do separate them, that is, how are you able to not cross that boundary between doing your business and acknowledging your faith? How do you do it?
So I don't separate them at all, because my faith is the foundation of my entire being. So everything that I do, whether before I spoke to you right now, I had I said a prayer, because everything I do is centered around my faith. Every single thing, whether it's my business, whether it's raising my child, whether it's my family, whether it's waking up in the morning, getting inside my car, the food that I eat, every single thing in my life is centered around my faith, my spirituality, around God, because I don't take that for granted. I'll tell you a short story. I went through huge financial challenges while I was younger, in my 20s, and I spent 5 years, not being able to get credit, so it taught me a lot of lessons in terms of how to manage money. But because I couldn't get credit, getting an apartment, and for me, moving away from the township and getting yourself an apartment, for me was a huge deal. But in South Africa, you need to have a good credit record and blah, 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 and all of that. And for me, it was a matter of, I knew that at that time, I did not have a good credit record, but I trusted in God. And I knew that I needed to shift and move away from where I was living to a place that's going to allow my mind and my business to operate in the manner that I need to operate in. And everything was centered around God. So it's about, letting go of the worldly standards and allowing God to take over when you need him, especially when you need him to take over. So I trusted God, because I knew that, if physically, if I look at the world, I'm not in good standing to get this apartment, but, I trust in him. And I got it. So I don't take for granted the things that God has put into my life, because he's just the center of everything. So there's no balance. It's all in sync. It's all one.
Wow. So, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Here's another person taking me to church right here. It's happening. It's starting to feel like Wired Women is is about gospel and all that. But I love it. I love it so much. This is why I feel like this is a completely different platform from all those platforms where people just separate them. You have to do a completely different mindset when you're talking about business, and a completely different mindset when you're talking about personal and or religious or spiritual life. For me, this is all intrinsic. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and I can see a pattern in that. So in that sense, am I right to say that even before you pitch for your big accounts, before you go and face your Goliath, you are a David, a small David with a catapult, and you go and face your Goliath, you do pray. Am I right in saying that? And how do you go about preparing for that pitch?
So any pitch that I've done through my career, when I know that we are going to pitch, I pray. I actually pray from the moment we get the brief. And faith works in this way. It takes faith to know what is for you, and it takes faith to also understand what is not for you. So there are pitches that you pitch and you don't get the business. And that's when you need to know that, okay, that was not meant for me. And it's okay, because you keep moving. So I pray, I'm the type of person that prays before any pitch. When I'm nervous, I pray. I invite God in all of those. When I'm going into a business meeting, last week I went to see, we had our first physical meeting with our client, where we went to meet the client. And honestly, I sat in that boardroom, Jen, and I felt small. I felt very small. I felt like, what am I doing amongst all these giants, these Goliaths in this room? And I also realized, leaving there, I realized that I actually didn't say a prayer. I didn't pray. I didn't ask God to guide me through this. And hence, you feel a certain way. You feel lost, you know. So I do that all the time without fail.
I love that. I love that. So from a human perspective, then, of course, we do have our faith, which is intrinsic. Like I said earlier on, it's part of our soul. It's a soul essence. But what about on the practical side? When you have to do practical things, what is in your power to? What is it that you, what is your go-to tools that you use to help yourself with the pitch? What are the maybe 3 things that you would say, and don't mind telling our viewers, are your secrets that you use for making the best pitch and having a 90% success chance?
I think doing extensive research before you pitch. And in doing the research, identify the gaps, identify the need from your perspective. Because what I've noticed is that some businesses know their business from an internal perspective, because they are in it. But we have the external eye. So it's doing extensive research. But more than anything, I would say that the biggest thing that has worked for us is that our proposals tell a story. So we don't propose things that are not needed. We always try to tell a story with our pitch. And then the third thing that I would bring to the table is that you really need to find people who can pitch, and also understand that not everybody can. You need to find people who really can pitch and present, and confidently so, because there are people who it's just not for everybody. So I have Morena. Morena is he's my creative director, and we pitch together. He's not a PR person, which is our core business, but he knows how to pitch. Okay. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to sell, and you need to have those kind of people, especially when you go to pitch. And then you get the work, and then you can figure out who you want to be in your team when the work is there.
Account director. Yeah, amazing. So I hear you saying three things. So obviously it's research. Whether you're doing qualitative or quantitative research, you need to do some research. And then the second thing you talked about is making sure that you can pick, or rather that was the third thing you talked about, knowing somebody who can actually do the pitch properly. The second point, I left it for last because it was the most important. It was about telling a story. So your proposal is in form of a story, which is amazing, because as in PR or as a creative, you're there to tell a story. So I feel that that's your USP, that's your unique selling proposition, and that's really a great power to have. And I hope that our viewers can really benefit from that. So moving forward, so you are very young, you don't have a very big historical context that we can look back to, but in that young life, you still have also experienced probably a lot of challenges and a lot of ups and downs, much more probably than a person who's actually lived 100 years. This is why I call you a freedom fighter. You're a warrior in your own sphere, in your own way. Can you tell me about what sort of challenges, apart from the fact that, you had bad credit and all of that, but what challenges have you faced being a Black female business person living in today's South Africa? Do you want to share with our viewers what those challenges have looked like and how you've helped yourself out of them?
Yeah, I would say the first biggest challenge that I went through, and to a certain extent I'm still going through it. It's just you overcome certain challenges and you learn to live with them. Is that I am a single mother with my daughter's dad decided to not be a part of her life. And so he's not supportive in any way. And I had to learn to raise my child with my family. So it was one of the things that I needed to learn, coming out of a toxic relationship where your dreams and your goals were never supported, and trying to find yourself within the dark space and trying to just uplift yourself up from that. So I had to go through that challenge and find myself as a single mother and how to maneuver around in this world, as a single mom and raising an incredible and intelligent little girl. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I had to face in life, which, to a certain extent, it's a blessing, because there's a beautiful child who really looks up to me, and she's very, very intelligent. So raising her is actually a total joy, because I just want the best for her. And it also pushes me to work harder, because I've got my goals. I literally split our goals, because she's still young for her to actually say what she wants to achieve. But I have her goals that I want for her. For example, the school that I want to take her to, she would hint and say that she wants to be a dancer, and I'll start looking at dancing classes and all of that. So then I planned my life around that. So that was one of the few challenges that I faced. And wow, the financial challenges were also, they really took a toll on me, because I really could not do anything. I couldn't buy a new car. I couldn't, do, and I think it also made me realize that as South Africans, we are so used to the credit mindset that we are not used to cash. So everything is credit. And I was fortunate to travel to Ghana last year, and it opened my mind up, because Ghanaians do not do credit. I think West Africans, actually, they don't do credit, So seeing the things that they can achieve without depending on credit also gave me that thing that, I'd actually rather educate yourself about credit, and rather use credit for things that you actually need, than for daily things. So overcoming that also helped me a lot, because I took 5 years to build my credit up again and to learn how to use cash and to learn how to manage my money very wisely. In business, Jane, I would say this, that I found that the people who advise me and mentor me and help me within my business are mostly men. And I've also found that women are mostly the cheerleaders. So they clap for you, they will say they support you, maybe they'll buy your products. But if I need 5,000 cash injection, for example, I need to buy some products and I don't have money right now, and I need a loan and I don't want to go to the bank, the person that I call who will definitely give me the money is mostly a man. And I think it comes from, because this is just my realization, I think it comes from the fact that as women, we handle money differently, right? We are nurturers, we are caretakers at home, and we look at our families first, whereby a man's mentality is a bit different to ours. So I found that as a bit of a challenge, that I would love for women, especially women in business, to support each other, like really physically support each other with tangible things, and not just say it, but literally be there. And I think that is a bit of a challenge when it comes to women in business that we need to change.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, what you've just shared is quite an eye-opener, and it's very insightful. I will start first about the credit situation. Obviously, in Africa, I think in general, South Africa is probably the only country that deals with credit. The rest of the countries are just beginning to get there and are just beginning to catch up, but they've always been known as cash societies. So South Africa has always had a Western style framework. So it's really good to educate our viewers that, they need to make sure that if they're going to use any form of credit, they should use it to leverage the bank's money to purchase big things like mortgages and invest in a business and stuff like that. But like you said, not to use credit for everyday lifestyle living and expenses, which is some education that a lot of people that are just beginning to learn what a credit card means or a credit facility means are just going to be shocked to realize that it's not as cheap as they think it is, and it's not free money. So thank you so much for pointing that out. And then the other thing that you just talked about is that men usually tend to support businesses. They tend to be the ones that will inject money into a business as opposed to a woman. I think I agree with you on that. It's because I think that men are more pragmatic. They will look at a business opportunity and they will look at what that seed money will eventually come out of that investment opportunity. So they're more of they're pragmatic, and they're more like they look at the bigger picture. Whereas, again, like you said, women will look at the immediate problem and try and resolve that immediate problem, and they'll most likely, like you said as well, that because of their nurturing default proposition, they tend to want to look after things that are mostly probably emotive rather than pragmatic. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. But also calling women cheerleaders as opposed to business masterminds or whatever is also another insight that I really like, because I think that also has value in it. It might be not monetary value, but I think we all need a cheerleader. We all need someone who's going to support us and nudge us on when we're feeling depleted and lacking with energy in terms of carrying on what we need to do. So I think the two are complementary, but I would like to also believe that there are women out there who are willing to inject money and put their money where their mouth is and see some investment opportunities in other businesses. So I'm hoping that our viewers can jump into that bandwagon and say, hey, here I am, an angel investor, and I'm happy to take a chance and invest in you, because I know there are so many women who are financially capable of doing that. So thank you for opening that great can ideas and nuggets. So moving on to, having talked about your current situation and where you've been, the challenges that you've faced, as well as the wins that you've so successfully and deservedly won in your life, in your career so far, what would you then say would be the one thing, the main takeaway from your experience in terms of your business as a business person, but also as an individual, that you would use as the thing that will be your legacy that you can be remembered by?
Wow. I actually never thought of that. I think for me, it's everything that I do, I love helping others, so even if I have to do it without getting paid, I want to be known as that person who helped me get somewhere. There's a quote I once read, and I can't remember who's the author, that said, you are where you are because somebody helped you get there. So I'm that type of person that I love helping people so much that I want to see people succeed. So in my business, my passion is more helping small businesses build their brands. So, and going on the journey with them, so if ever I want people to remember me about a certain thing, is I would want people to remember me as the person that helped them get to their next level.
Amazing. I like that. I like the idea, though, that you can help people, especially small businesses, without expecting a payment in return. This is all about karma. But also on the flip side of that, because there's always two sides to a coin, I had a conversation with a woman who started what is called the platform. And the platform is about empowering young people with employability skills. And she started it as a social business enterprise. And she talked about, her name is Sadie, she talked about the idea that, as a small business and as a charitable organization, you want to be sustainable, self-sustainable. So if you are able to charge and add value to what you're doing, even if you're helping somebody else, you need to be able to charge so that you can become independent and not donor dependent. So yeah. I think there's sort of like it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You'd want to help other people, but you also have bills that you need to pay. Yeah. So I think it's just finding that balance in between where you are able to give as well as receive. And as with anything else we do in life, even with a business, we have to give away something for free to our viewers, our customers and stuff like that. Something that is tangible, takeaways that they can use before they actually buy from you. But at the end of the day, we also need to ensure that we put a price on something that is valuable so that if they use that and they will be able to multiply maybe 3/4 of what their investment was on that particular item that they've purchased from you. So this is amazing type of conversation that I love to have with my guests, as always. So thank you so much for that. So finally, and not the least though, what would be the advice that you would give to your younger self? Let's say you're 17-year-old Tshego, you're looking back at your life and you're doing what you were doing that literally got you into that bad credit mode, or anything else at what point, whatever point, turning point it was in your life that you'd want to look back today and say something to your younger self. What would that be?
I would say take your time, because I think I rushed to a lot of things. I wanted things very fast. And the only advice I would give my younger self is that take your time. Do things as and when they happen, but just take your time.
It's easier said than done, isn't it? When you are in that zone, when you're young, 17 years old, and your hormones are raging, your ambitions are bigger than the world's, you just want to get there and be older and just get things done. I understand. But yes, I think that's the kind of advice would give each one of us would give ourselves to in hindsight. hindsight is always 2020 vision. So much thank you for that, Tshego. So if our viewers were listening to you and the small businesses that are just starting out, they're looking for a PR consultant, they're looking for an integrated marketing agency around South Africa or the world over, with this global convergence, people can actually be able to use your services thanks to providence of technology. How would they find you? Is there a website? Is there a contact detail that you'd want to share with our viewers?
Okay, so yes, we do have a website. Our website is alfadestiny.co.za, but it's Alpha with ALFA, destiny.co.za. And we are present on social media, on Instagram and Facebook as Alpha Destiny Communications. And yeah, you can Google us, you can search us. Our contact details are on our website, phone number plus email address. So, and my social, people can reach me directly as well. Tshego Kekana on all social media platforms, and Tshego Mall on Twitter.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You are such a joy to have on the show, Tshego. It's been so amazing talking to you. Unfortunately, time is so short. We can go on and we'll never get to finish all the great conversations that we could possibly cover. So thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope that I can have you on another show in the future. Thank you so much, Tshego, for joining us on Wired Women today.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye now.